Hello guys and welcome here to the Daytona International Raceway. Today we are bringing you pole day qualifying. You've seen the order for which these guys will go out. And Jack Porkins will be the first one in just a second. These guys will have one lap to lay down their fastest time here. And the fastest two will be on the front row and will be locked in. Also the top three go-homers will be locked in, as all the go-homers are going to be the first ones to go in the session. So we will quickly find out which top three will be locked into the main event, and the rest of them will have to race their way in through the duels. Anyway, without further delay, let's take you to Jack Porkins' qualifying run as he is getting ready to head out for us right now here on NCN. We'll be right back. Here comes Jack Porkins right now. The first lap does not count because that is going to be the warm-up lap, so this is the lap that counts. Jack Porkins joining Rick Ware Racing this season after a horrible season over at H. Scott Motorsports. This team ran pretty decently in their practice. We'll have to see if it translates over here into qualifying. Through turn 3 out of turn 4. .162 for Jack Porkins. Not a bad lap. We'll see where that'll put him at the end of qualifying. Now here comes 65 of Landon Martin to lay down his fast time in the Wegman Chevrolet. Usually this is driven by me, Brian James. However, I decided to leave that car open for this season to a new driver. Landon Martin was at Germain Racing last season, had a very good year over there. So James Buchanan Motorsports decided to pick him up. He is the second of 3 JBM cars in the field. We will see the 25 of DJ Curtis in just a little bit. As Landon Martin on turn number 4, he may have a faster lap than Jack Porkins. 49.990 for Landon Martin. He jumps to the top of the boards here in qualifying. Here he is, your defending Cup Series champion, Luis Hernandez. And if his warm-up lap is any indication as to what kind of lap he's going to run, I would be very nervous if I'm Landon Martin. Keep in mind, we let the guys have a warm-up lap, a full warm-up lap around the track before we start counting time. But so far, your past champion may have no problem locking into the field today, which is what these go-homers want to see out of Luis Hernandez. Your previous series champion joining Joe Gibbs Racing this season, hoping for a good year over there after what was a dismal season for the 19 team last season. His lap, 49.411, top of the boards for Luis Hernandez here in qualifying. Here comes Jean Sanford, ready to start her first lap. And if her warm-up lap's any indication as well, she might have a quick lap coming here. Krispy Kreme Chevrolet. This is the second H. Scott Motorsports entry. The first entry, or the first team car, will be in the next part of qualifying with the guys locked into the field. So Jean Sanford going to have to qualify her way in on time due to the fact this was the 46 last season, and the 46 did not have a great effort last year. Jean Sanford coming up from the straight talk, hoping to have better luck in the Cup Series. As out of turn number 4, here she comes. Where will she place? 49.536. That'll put her second on the board. Here comes Richard Kinghart in the number 95. He was over at the Wood Brothers last season, made the chase. Levine Family Racing has signed him for this season, and he will hope to drive the full season in the 95 for this team. Anyway, if the warm-up lap was any indication, he may be in some trouble. We know Jack Porkins, as of right now, will have to race his way into the 500. So we are made very well aware of that. And Richard Kinghart out of turn number 4. He's got a beat of 49.990. 50.110. Richard Kinghart is going to have to race his way in the Can-Am duels at Daytona. Tough break for that team, and we'll be right back with Hilary Sanchez next. Here comes the number 3, that is Hilary Sanchez for Richard Childress Racing. This team did not fare well last season with Tommy Turbo. They did win a race, I do believe, but unfortunately did not finish in the top 33. They have to qualify their way in, and if their first lap is any indication, they're going to be in some trouble. The top 3 at the moment: Luis Hernandez 49.411, Gene Sanford number 2 49.536, and then Landon Martin in third with 49.990. That is what Hilary Sanchez has to beat in order to qualify in the top 3 positions, which the top 3 transfers into the 500 won't have to worry about their position in the duel. As out of turn number 4, down the front stretch, 50.039. Hilary Sanchez not good enough to get into the 500. She will have to race her way in the Can-Am duels. Here comes Daniel Voiles in the number 72 RTIC Chevrolet for TriStar Motorsports, new team over here on the Cup side of things. And they turn to rookie Daniel Voiles, and hopefully going to have some success. Their warm-up lap, they got a 50.317. We will see what their first official timed lap will look like. But I can imagine it's going to be pretty good. It looks like he's tracking in the green right now. Keep in mind, he's got to beat a 49.990 to get into the top 3, and a 49.411 to beat Luis Hernandez. Will he beat any of those laps? 49.780. That'll put the 72 in the top 3 for the time being. Landon Martin now going to have to race his way in the Can-Am duels. We'll be right back with Ethan Lynn next, here on NCN. Here we go, Ethan Lynn in number 7 Golden Corral Chevrolet, Tommy Baldwin Racing's entry, as we're back here on NCN. Currently your top 3, Luis Hernandez with a 49.411. Then we've got Gene Sanford in second with a 49.536. And Daniel Voiles has snuck into the top 3. He has a 49.780. And that is currently the bubble position. Here comes 7. Will he beat the lap time? He's got to beat a 49.780 to get into the top 3. Into the line, 49.676. Daniel Voiles bumped. He's going to have to race his way in. Ethan Lynn is now your top 3 driver. We will see how he fares as TJ Hanley is next. Here's TJ Handley now in the number 33 for the Motorsports Group. They've paired up with the Motorsports Group. They paired up with Circle Sport, who worked with the 95 team last season. This season, they will attempt a full season with the Motorsports Group and Curtis Key, and TJ Hanley replacing Ryan Riso in that ride. Coming through turns 3 and 4, his warm-up lap didn't look too great, but we'll see. He's got to beat a 49.676. Can he do it at the line? 49.811. TJ Hanley is going to have to race his way in the Can-Am duels. Here we go, Nathan Faden in the number 37 for JTG Doherty. Their second entry this season. Yep, and his teammate Eric Faden will be going in a little bit. What? Okay, whatever. My apologies, guys. People don't know not to interrupt me when I'm busy. Anyway, so Nathan Faden once again the second entry. His brother Eric Faden running in on this team as well this season. If his warm-up lap's any indication, he's not going to be in good shape. 49.816. Ooh, man. He is not going to make it to the next round. He's going to have to qualify. Or I'm sorry, he's going to have to race his way in from the Can-Am duels. Here comes DJ Curtis now in the 25. As you see the current top 10. This is the 11th driver to go, and we're getting close to the end of the Go or Go Homers. Up next we'll have Patrick Smith and then Caleb Parker. And when Caleb Parker qualifies, we will determine who will lock in to the top 3 from there on out. Anyway, but DJ Curtis in the third JBM car, with Liberty University carrying him this race. It was announced Verizon will also be on the car for a handful of races. Currently 50.297 on their warm-up lap. We'll see how they do on their actual timed lap. To the line, 49.745. That is not enough to advance to not enough to advance to the race. You'll have to race in based on the duels. Here comes Patrick Smith in the number 10, our first Ford in qualifying. Can't believe it took us 12 cars to get to our first Ford. The third Stuart Haas ride. Patrick Smith, and his warm-up lap was pretty decent. We'll have to see what his actual timed lap will look like in the Aspen Dental colors. So far, carrying great speed down the back stretch. He's got a beat of 49.676 laid down by Ethan Lynn to get into the top 3. I don't know if he'll be able to top that. We'll see. It was a decent warm-up lap. He might have a chance. Let's see at the line. 49.616. That'll put Patrick Smith in third for the time being. So he is currently in. We'll have to see if he stays there. Here we go. Here comes our second Toyota of the session. Caleb Parker in the number 96. The Gaunt Brothers entry. This run could lock Luis Hernandez in. He is on the bubble. And judging by Caleb Parker's lap, I don't think he's going to come anywhere close to what Luis Hernandez ran. He would have to beat a 49.411. He was over a second off of that on his warm-up, and he can't even hit 180 in that car. And this is surprising, because the Toyotas have shown a lot of speed. Usually here at Daytona, they show a lot of speed. And they are not showing any of that in this run. Coming to the line, 49.963. That is going to put him right near the bottom of the boards. And the good news for these Go or Go Homers, Luis Hernandez, the previous series champion, is locked in to the Daytona 500. Trent Fusion is next here on NCN. Here comes Brad Fusion in the number 66 for Motorsports Business Management. Anyway, you know Luis Hernandez is locked in at this moment. This lap, he has to beat a 49.536 laid down by Gene Sanford in order to lock into the field. And judging by that lap, he's probably not going to come anywhere close to what Gene Sanford ran. Coming through turn 3. Small team, small budget. This team's going to try and run the whole Cup schedule just like everyone else and hope for the best. But out of turn 4, we'll see. 49.933, right around where Caleb Parker ran. And Gene Sanford will be making her debut in the Daytona 500. Brad Fusion going to have to race his way in the Can-Am duels. Here we go, the final go-or-go-homer about to make his lap. Tyson Aquino in the number 8, third Chip Ganassi Racing entry. He needs to beat a 49.616 in order to lock in to the field. If not, he will be racing his way in the Can-Am duels. But judging by the way his warm-up lap went, and on top of it, based on how the past 2 cars have qualified the track, obviously losing some speed. I mean, there's really no other explanation to it. The track's just losing speed as these guys keep going. And we'll have to see how it affects Tyson Aquino to the line. 49.912. Patrick Smith will now be racing on race day. So Luis Hernandez, Gene Sanford, and Patrick Smith are all locked in. They will be racing on Sunday. Everyone else will now have to qualify their way in. Here come the top 33 guys up next. Here comes Stephen Thompson. He is the first non-go-or-go-homer to qualify. In the number 55, he replaced Cameron Rushton over there. And this team downsized to a one-car team for this season, Premium Motorsports. Hoping for the best. They will be locked in the show, so their lap time really won't matter too much. But yeah, you can tell it's not going to be a great lap, probably. Out of turn 4, we'll see. He's losing a lot of speed in the turns. And coming to the line, 49.930. That'll put him just ahead of Brad Fusion on the list. Up next we got Max Anderson. Here we go. First BK Racing car out in our 17th car in qualifying. Max Anderson for BK Racing, as mentioned. Driving one of their 2 entries. Megan Atkins and Chris Dollerton both had great seasons here at BK Racing. They only hope, Max Anderson and Trent Fusion only hope to duplicate what they did last year. For Max Anderson, that's going to be a good challenge for him, I think. I mean, Chris Dollerton didn't run very well. I mean, he ran all right in that car. He didn't do too well though. But we'll see. It's back to the line of 49.881. That'll put him just behind Nathan Faden. And we'll see where he stacks up. Here's Thomas Lucere in the number 77, the second Furniture Row Racing entry. And one of our big teams in the series. This team ran Championship 4. They were the championship runner-up with Jackson Lynn last season. Jackson Lynn jumped ship to H. Scott Motorsports. He will be up later in the session. And Thomas E. Lucere is not going to have a great lap in that number 77, which is a shocker. It's surprising. This track has lost speed, but the track conditions are the exact same as they were when we first started. Out of turn 4, I can't imagine this being a great lap. 49.951. He just beats Caleb Parker, but it's not going to be a good start for the 77 team. Ooh boy, here comes Brad Stover. in the defending Daytona 500 winning car for Hendrick Motorsports, and if that warm-up lap is any indication as to how they are going to run on this lap, if I'm Luis Hernandez, I'd be very worried right now. 181 down the backstretch. They didn't lose much speed in turns 1 and 2. He's got to beat a 49.411. We'll see. So far, he's showing excellent speed. 180 into turns 3 and 4. 179, 178. Barely touched there. Out of turn 4. Is he going to take the pole away? No! 49.455. That will put Brad Stover, number 2, on the boards. Here's Ben Crouch in that Furniture Row Racing number 78. Bass Pro will be on the car for this race, as you can see. His teammate Thomas Lucere did not fare very well. And Ben Crouch probably not going to fare much better. Currently your front row is Luis Hernandez, your defending Cup champion. And then Brad Stover in the number 48. They currently hold the front row. Gene Sanford, third. In fourth, we got Patrick Smith, and fifth is Ethan Lynn at the moment. And out of turn number 4, coming down the front stretch, 49.961, just a 100th off what his teammate ran. So slower than Thomas Lucere. Ben Crouch is going to have some work to do on or before the Can-Am duels. Here comes Eric Monaco in the number 88 for Hendrick Motorsports. Let's take a look at the top 20 off to the left of your screen. That is of the 20 cars that have gone right now. Up next, we will have Angel Navarro and Eric Baden, as well as Caitlin Sang. Tyler Rattry are also going to be coming up next. Green is, of course, green and red are the go or go homers, and white are the guys who are locked in, or the top 33 guys. But Eric Monaco finishing up his lap here. His teammate Brad Stover got second. I don't know if this is going to be anywhere close, but it does have the makings of a decent lap. 49.779. Not a bad lap. I don't know if it'll put him near the front, but we'll have to see when qualifying ends. 49.779 for the 88. Here's a guy who could be a threat for the pole, the 20 of Angel Navarro. On his second lap so far, or on his first lap of qualifying here, the second Joe Gibbs car to go so far. DeWalt, the new main sponsor on this car, and Tide will also be joining the team full time. Let's take a look at him. 180 down the back stretch. 181. At the very least, he could contend for the front row. That is Luis Hernandez's teammate. Didn't lose too much speed out of turn 3 and 4. We'll see. 49.572. Doesn't even beat Gene Sanford, I believe. That'll put him 4th on the list. Yeah, P4. P4 for Angel Navarro. Not a bad lap. Here he comes out of turn number 4. Eric Faden, your defending Daytona 500 winner, looking to get a fast lap here. His warm-up lap wasn't too good, and his teammate and brother Nathan Faden didn't do all too well. So I don't know how this is going to work, but Eric Faden in the number 47 for JTG Doherty. He comes over from Hendrick Motorsports, where he won the Daytona 500 last season. Hoping for better luck this season with the new race team. 3 wins last season. in the 48. Made the chase, just missed the championship 4. And that was a heartbreaker last season for them. That team worked so hard. He's hoping for better luck here. And he is going to be pretty far down the grid. 49.959. That is way slower than what Nathan Faden ran on his lap. Going to have a lot of work to do in that 47 camp. Here comes the 31 of Caitlin Sang, the second Richard Childress Racing car to go. Her teammate, Hilary Sanchez, did not fare well early in the session. Hilary Sanchez was the 6th car to go out, ran a 50.039, and obviously Caitlin Sang hopefully she'll do a little better than her teammate did. The only RCR car left to go after this is Joshua Scully, and I believe he goes later in the session. But Caitlin Sang will make her debut in the 500, regardless of her lap time. Coming to the line, 49.824. Not such a good lap for them, but they can obviously improve their position in the Can-Am duel. Here comes one of the smaller teams in the garage as well. The number 32 of Tyler Rattray. This team may be a small team, but don't let that title fool you. This team ran Championship 4 last season with Robert Pollard. Yeah, with Robert Pollard behind the wheel. This season they got an increased alliance with Roush Fenway. They're going to have a second car in the field. Obviously not this race. This race it's a Roush Fenway entry. But going forward, it'll be a second entry for Go Fast Racing. And Tyler Rattray at turn number 4, his warm-up lap wasn't too good. 50.046. This team is going to have a lot of work to do before the Can-Am duels if they want to start up front. How about this? We haven't seen many Fords early on in the session. We're starting to see a whole swarm of them as you take a look at the current leaderboard off to the left of your screen. Joey Tiff is next here in the Wood Brothers number 21. So far his warm-up lap wasn't that good. And this team may have a lot of work to do. You really need to hit your marks on the warm-up lap. That's just the lesson right there. And you know what's funny is a lot of these guys worked on the draft. In practice, they really should have focused on making their car good for single car qualifying. Instead, it's Joey Tiff 50.063. He is slower than Tyler Rattray's lap. They're going to have some work to do in that garage for their car. Here comes the 93, Richard Johnson for Team Velocity. Amoko back for the full season aboard the 93. A single car team. Ran about average last season, ran about mid-pack. Not really talked about that much. They weren't really in contention for many wins last season. They're hoping to change their luck this season. But judging by the outlap, he is going to have a lot of work to do. Keep in mind the slowest at the moment is Jack Porkins in that number 51 with a 50.162. Richard Johnson's warm-up lap pretty much identical to that. Hey, he just barely beats Richard Kinghart, but Richard Johnson going to be at the bottom of the boards with a 50.100. Here comes 17 of Joseph Curtis. Not his outlap, not half bad. Keep in mind this is the first official timed lap. as he enters turn 1 and 2. The first of 3, yes, I said 3 Roush cars. Keep in mind the 99 is a Roush car for this race, though going forward for most of the races they will be out of the Go Fast Racing shop. But Joseph Curtis replacing Ethan Wicken over here in the 17 camp. This team did very well in the road courses last season, shockingly. And so far they are putting down what could be a contending lap here. They at least got to beat a 49.455 to get on the front row. 49.504. That'll beat Gene Sanford. So I believe P3 for the number 17. Not bad. Here comes the 14. Jessica McNeilson getting the call this season to drive the 14 for Stuart Haas. Luis Hernandez, the defending champion, won his championship in this ride last season. So Jessica McNeilson, big shoes to fill here at Stuart Haas Racing, and so far she's looking pretty fast. I'd watch her. Her teammate Patrick Smith ran very well, 49.616 for them. She might be right up there with them. We will see. Is this the second Stuart Haas car to go out? The third one will be out just a little later in the session. It's coming to the line, 49.621. Just a tad slower than Patrick Smith on her lap. Nathan Rattray is next. Here comes the 99 of Nate Rattray for Roush Fenway Racing. And yes, they are with Roush this race. This team basically acquired the 16's owner from the previous season, Jessica Emery. However, the 99 is going to be a split between Roush Fenway and Go Fast Racing. So Roush Fenway, who's fielding the 99 this week, it'll still be the same driver all 36 races. Nate Rattray will run with Roush for the restrictor plates in Indianapolis, and then Go Fast Racing will field the car the rest of the season. Lily Diabetes will be on the car for the restrictor plates and all that. 50.151. Second slowest for Nate Rattray. He is going to have some work to do on race day. Here we go, our 31st qualifier to go out. This is James Qualls, and if you missed last season by a chance, James Qualls was your Daytona 500 pole sitter last season when he drove for Joe Gibbs Racing. Won a race over there. He brings his talents over to Roush Fenway. And this is the third and final Roush Fenway car to go out in this session. His teammate Nate Rattray, as you saw the leaderboard so far, Nate Rattray is the second slowest. And Joseph Curtis currently in third quick. We're going to see where James Qualls will stack up in just a second. It's back to the line, 49.884. Not a great lap for them. They're probably going to be toward the bottom half of the field. Here comes the number 11 of Kevin McHugh. And of the guys who might be able to knock Brad Stover off the front row or Luis Hernandez off the pole, this might be one of the guys to do it. This team sat on the pole last season, as mentioned, with James Qualls. New driver this season, they're hoping for the same luck. His teammate Sam Curtis is next. I honestly am going to say this. I believe if Luis Hernandez does not get bumped off the pole with McHugh's lap or Sam Curtis's lap, I think it's safe to say that number 19 is going to be on the front row. But let's see, coming to the stripes, 49.658, can't even beat the 14 of Jessica McNeilson or the 17 of Joseph Curtis. I believe this will put him P5 or P6 on the board. Here comes Sam Curtis in the number 18, and I really believe here, if Sam Curtis does not beat the lap of Luis Hernandez, which he's going to have a long climb to do so, I really believe we can safely say Luis Hernandez will be on the front row for the 500, at least. And when Sam Curtis comes over to Team Joe Gibbs Racing from Team Penske, where he ran pretty decently over there. He didn't get a win though, which kind of stinks, but they're looking for better luck over here with Joe Gibbs Racing. He replaces Cole Vaughn in that number 18, and to the line, 49.922, a very bad lap for the 18. This will put him at the bottom half of the grid. Here comes the 38 of Tim Randolph, and the first of two Front Row Motorsports entries to go in this session. Good Sam and Camping World carrying them today. I don't know how they fared in practice, but this team did pretty decently last season with Marcus Wish behind the wheel. His teammate Jonathan Rains is coming up a little later in the session. So he's got a veteran teammate to help him out this season. Is out of turn number 4. We're going to see where he stacks up. His warm-up lap was actually halfway decent. To line, 49.775, not half bad for Tim Randolph. 49.775. We'll see where that puts him on the grid. Here comes Eli Bright in the number 13 for Germain Racing. Man, if his warm-up lap is any indication, he may actually play spoiler for Luis Hernandez. I would keep an eye on this team. This team did not fare well in the Daytona 500 last season. I believe they blew an engine before the start. And then the very next race in Atlanta I believe they finished last in that one too. They got into mid-season form quickly though, missed the chase. This season they're hoping to change their luck, and if that lap time is any indication, their luck is about to change in a second. Turn 4, he's got to beat a 49.411, 49.249. Eli Bright to the top of the boards here at Daytona. P1 for the number 13. Now here comes Chase Marks, complete his warm-up lap, and that is not a great warm-up lap for them in the Stewart-Haas Racing camp. As you take a look at the leaderboard, it goes to show you don't count anyone out at Daytona, not even in qualifying. Eli Bright, if you just missed it, Eli Bright just went to the top of the boards, dethroned Luis Hernandez at the top. So now the lap time to beat here is at 49.249, and I say don't count anyone out, and the reason being, like I said, I'll tell you this much, I did not have Eli Bright on my radar to beat Luis Hernandez. I thought maybe Charles Sanford could do it, or Dylan Young, or Zach Buchanan, or any of those guys coming up later. Sure enough, they beat him. 50.136. That is going to put Chase Marks at the very bottom of the list. Here comes the 27 of Joshua Scully. The final Richard Childress racing car to go out here. Cynthia Bright, who has an ECR engine at the top of the board, so I wouldn't have been shocked if Joshua Scully went to the top of the boards. I don't think he will though, judging by his warm-up lap. Keep in mind, Joshua Scully, this team finished 34th in the owner's standings last season. So if that's any indication, keep in mind they should have been one of the first 15 to go out. However, because the 98 team shut down for Premium Motorsports and Premium kept all their assets, Joshua Scully gets the owner points because he was first in line without owner points to lock in for the first 3 races. So Joshua Scully in for the first 3 races and his lap time of 49.739. That'll put him about mid-pack here at Daytona. Here comes Jackson Lynn in the number 15. His teammate, Jean Sanford, did very well in her qualifying effort. She is locked in the field, so both Turner Scott cars are going to be both H. Scott Motorsports cars will be racing in the Daytona 500. Jackson Lynn replaced Corey Williams. This team did very well in the chase last season. Couldn't make it to the Championship 4, though, or the round of 8, I don't think. But Jackson Lynn made it to the Championship 4, had to settle for runner-up in the championship. They look to change their luck this season. They lost a big sponsor, though, in 5 Hour Energy, Smoky Mountain, on the car for this race, and Lucas Oil will carry them for some races as well. And Jackson Lynn gets a 49.811. That should put him somewhere about mid-pack. Zach Buchanan in the number 4. This team made the Championship 4 last season, James Buchanan Motorsports. The final car for this team to go out in qualifying, and his teammates did not have much success in their qualifying efforts. DJ Curtis and Landon Martin both near the bottom of the charts. And Zach Buchanan hoping not to do that. Zach Buchanan also, I should mention, of the Championship 4, 3 returned for Season 2. And of the 3 that returned, Zach Buchanan is the only guy to remain with his race team for Season 2. 49.837, slower than Jackson Lynn. That team's going to have some work to do in the duels to improve their starting spot. Here's Griffin Lynn, the second Chip Ganassi racing car to go out in this session. Griffin Lynn was on the front row last season for the Daytona 500 and won a race at Picks Creek, so restrictor plate's probably his specialty. This team did not have much, or this driver did not have much luck last season. Comes over to Chip Ganassi Racing, replacing Nathan Hudson, who won 2 races for this team last season. Hoping for better luck this season. And so far, judging by his lap time, he's going to have some work to do in the Can-Am duels. Ooh, he just barely beat Jack Porkins, but he is second slowest in the session. Griffin Lynn going to have a lot of work to do for race day. Ryan Monaco is up next in the number 5 for Hendrick Motorsports. We've had 40 cars go so far. This is our 41st. And Ryan Monaco replacing DJ Curtis over here at Hendrick. The third Hendrick car to go out. Charles Sanford will end the session for us. He is the 48th and final driver to go out. But Ryan Monaco hoping to do better this season in the 5 than DJ Curtis did last season. Hendrick had a lot of success last year with 2 drivers, Chris Dodd and Eric Faden. Hopefully this season they will find success with Monaco, Stover, or the Monacos, Stover, and Sanford. 49.806. Not a bad lap for Ryan Monaco. That should put him about mid-pack. I guess it takes us till the end of towards the end of the session to find our first Team Penske car. Dylan Young is up next in the Universal Orlando Studios paint scheme this week for Team Penske. Another driver to remain at the same team. Same sponsors returning this season for Dylan Young, so lots of excitement in that camp. Last season, Hooters brought him to Daytona. This year, it's Universal Studios. They've stepped up their game in sponsorship. And Dylan Young looking to repeat what he did last year. He was your Brickyard 400 winner and ran pretty well last season. We'll see this time by 49.951. He's going to have a little work to do in the duels, and hopefully he'll be able to improve his position. Here comes the second BK Racing entry, and the final Toyota of our qualifying session, Trent Fusion, in the number 23. This team finished 18th in the points last season, ran very well. I believe they got a win. I may be mistaken though. No wait, they didn't get a win, I don't believe. So, but either way, they didn't make the chase, as you could tell. Anyway, Max Anderson, his teammate, went for 49.881. And Trent Fusion might be right along those lines. With his lap, he's not tracking very well. Coming to the line, 50.008. That'll put them toward the back of the field. Here comes Jonathan Rains in the number 34, second front row motorsports entry. In your most recent winner over here on the Jello Cup side of things. He's won at Talladega and he's won at Talladega and he's won at Zenjoltis. So it'll make it very interesting to see how he performs here this season with the new team. He left Chip Ganassi Racing to get this opportunity with rookie teammate Tim Randolph as he comes out of turn number 4. He made the chase last season. He hopes to duplicate that success, replacing the Straight Talk champion over here. And a winner, replacing Haley Wish, who won in this car last season. 49.927 for Jonathan Rains. Here comes the 43 of Zachary Fitzwater Sr., the only entry for Richard Petty Motorsports. Last season, this team ran 2 teams. They had a 44 car. That car did not fare well, so they downsized to 1 car. Didn't have enough owner points to transfer them to another car or sell the assets. Zach Fitzwater, however, this 43 team had the owner points, ran pretty, they were inconsistent last season, but I guess you expect that for a small team, for somewhat of a small budget team. Zach Fitzwater hoping to change their luck here. It's coming to the line. 49.961 for Zachary Fitzwater. We'll be right back with Alexander Rowe next on NCN. Here we go, 22 of Alexander Rowe. We'll look to try and bump 13, Eli Bright, off the pole. The final Ford to go out and the second Team Penske ride to go out in this session. We'll see how they fared. They got a good outlap going, and this is their first official timed lap coming up. But if that warm-up lap was any indication, they might actually have something for these guys. I don't know if it's going to be a pole lap, but it should be easily top 10. Coming down 49.661. That'll at least be somewhere near the top 10 for Alexander Rowe. Here comes the 42 of Tim Horton, and I should also note that since he is our second to last qualifier, he has to beat a 49.249, which is likely not going to happen. I doubt he can pick up 1.3 seconds in the next lap. So I think it's safe to say that Eli Bright will be either your pole sitter or second place. But for Tim Horton, this is the third and final Chip Ganassi car to go out. And Chip Ganassi Racing has not fared very well. Tyson Aquino's going to have to race his way in the Can-Am duels because he's a go-or-go-homer. His other teammate, Griffin Lynn, second slowest. He's currently 45th on the boards. And make that 46th. Tim Horton, though, 49.940 for the 42. Charles Sanford, our last qualifier, is next here on NCN. Here comes our final qualifier, Charles Sanford for Hendrick Motorsports. Judging by that lap, he won't be much of a contender for the pole, but they're going to look to put down a good lap here. Our 48th guy to go out, our final guy to go out. Then we can call this qualifying session over, and we will head off to Can-Am Dual practices Tuesday, and then the Can-Am Duels on Thursday. So Can-Am Dual practice Tuesday, the duels on Thursday. Charles Sanford in his second season with Hendrick Motorsports ran about average. I don't think he ran too well for them last season, but they see something in Charles and they want him back to be the team leader here. It's at turn number 4. 49.981 for Charles Sanford. Eli Bright, Luis Hernandez will be your front row for the Daytona 500, and we'll be right back in just a second. We're going to show you your qualifying results right after this. We want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on Tuesday for Can-Am Dual practices. Goodbye, everyone.